If you like Monster Energy drinks, you're gonna love what the Mod Collection came up with this week. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Let's go ahead and get into it. Chartreuse Neon Splash Les Paul Access Custom for $6,400. Whether they're going for the liquor or just the color, that seems like a needlessly fancy word for such an edgy guitar. You almost need to throw a Nickelodeon logo on it too. And we can call it slime, but I thought this was rather fascinating. They threw the high-performance UFO-style knobs on it. It's an Access Custom, so you've got the Floyd Rose, chromed-out hardware everywhere else, ebony fretboard with your block inlays, 7-ply binding around the top. But the design falls a little bit short on the back. It's just black. And there's no matching headstock or anything like that. But hey, I think this is the first time we've seen the Mod Collection decal on an Access Custom, so that's new. With, again, those very strange tiny Grover tuners with the small buttons. And ouch! Gibson USA case. But how about the title on this one? Jungle Cat. For nearly $6,000, you get some sort of a green burst, but you can tell there's maybe a little bit of yellow and reddish tint to it. Well, this time it's an Access Standard, but you get the P94 in the neck with dirty fingers in the bridge. That's interesting. Knurled metal knobs. And oh, look underneath the Floyd Rose. They left that the natural mahogany color. I love that. But being a standard, you don't have any binding on the headstock. But the back matches the theme that they were trying to go for with that smoky brownish hue. And this one's number 216. With full-size Grovers. But now one for the lefties, a $4,500 punchy purple with the chrome pickup cover over the P90. Gibson doesn't do that enough. But then you still have a really dark pick guard, just 2 knobs. It looks like it's more of a TV finish rather than an open pore satin. If you look at the neck, you can see the way the light reflects off of it, so that confirms that thought. It's a gloss finish, but this desperately needs a really long black stinger. But hey, at least they had a little bit of fun on the headstock. And this one's number 223. But this is what I've been waiting for. Taking the new ES330 and making it new. With gemstone green, called differently down here, tourmaline. Gibson's teaching us all kind of fancy words today. What's even better is the box tag is going to call it something completely different. But this time we get golden P90 covers. And all gold pretty much everywhere else, including your plastics. And then you get kind of a slightly dullish grayish green color. Whereas the back, they left it to brown, but it does look like we have a stinger. It just doesn't really pop against those finishes. This one's number 247 and has a relatively normal headstock. And now we've got Alfheim Emerald. Apparently it's where the elves live. But that is a very different sparkle green than we've seen before. That's really dark and lush. When the light hits it, it's different, and then they've messed with our controls. So it looks like we still have 2 volumes and a master tone. Then the output jack was put on the front. Okay. But the rest of the guitar is looking pretty cool. Just a relatively basic headstock. In the back, they appear to have left a cherry, but I was really hoping we would see the side shot. Like, is this a stereo output, or did they really just have a gaping hole over here? Unfortunately, no answers over here, but apparently the top shifts from gold, green, and blue. Well, I guess if we really zoom in there, it does look like they just left it open. That would have been really cool if it didn't have that at all. But if dark green's not your style, they also had a 4-leaf clover. Ooh, on a 68 reissue. Cool, you don't see those every day. I feel like these should have came out in March or something. But ooh, those aren't regular P90s, they're slug coils, so they're probably P90S. Well, the newer version, ST. Other than that, just a light greenish gold hue with our single banded binding, numberless knobs. No pickguard or poker chip. But it looks like this 68 reissue is based on the very early versions with the crown headstock. And oh, matching body with the pearloid plates and then a natural back of the neck, retaining its original serial number. But now we have another cask with the Spirit Shadow. More Floyd Rose and UFO knobs. However, this looks like it started life as the regular bangle burst, but then they just kind of sprayed it over a transparent brown. Like, if you look very closely, you can still see all the wood grain through the top, but you can tell there's just like a little bit of red peeking through yet. But here's our headstock. Looks like those tiny Grover tuners again. I wonder, are all the Access Customs switching to those? I mean, to be fair, you're not going to use those tuners very often once you have the Floyd Rose set up, so I guess it makes sense to have a lower profile, less heavy tuner. But the back appears to be ebony, and that looks like a satin finish to me. Now we've got a spicy sweet chili as a 59 reissue. $6,300 gives you a slightly orange, maybe a tinge of green, to a fall autumn burst. And you get your pumpkin style knobs over there with matching switch tip. Headstock left alone outside of our truss rod cover. And our back is red, as this model typically is. And it comes with the Les Paul custom style case rather than your Lifton reissue. Then lastly, dynamic static on a 50s Les Paul standard for $2,800. It's a nice dark sparkly purple with uncovered pickups. And primarily blacked out plastics outside of our pickup rings, but the rings match with the binding, so it works. But whoa, that took me a second. Do you guys see what's wrong here? It just says Les Paul. It's missing the model underneath it. Okay, I don't think I've ever seen that before. But the back is a nice natural brownish hue. But now let's check out the EU. They might have had a little bit too much fun on this one. Fool's Gold Sparkle. Yep, that's gonna be blinding. You get matching painted knobs, output jack still on the front. You get a ES335 Studio style tenon cover from the 2013-ish era, if I remember correctly. Still single dog ear P90 with your lightning bar wrap tailpiece. That's gonna be blinding in person. And then our headstock is matching. Looks like they tried to spray the Gibson logo. Man, if I did not have this on Gibson's own website, I would say that was an aftermarket home job. And then we have some sort of a North Star-like type thing with a matching truss rod cover to our tenon. But the fun doesn't end there. They just everything on the back too. It almost looks like you have a golden border around it as well. And a nice choice to upgrade this to waffle back tuners. It's kind of hard to read the serial number, but I think it says 26. So that would explain why we don't have the decal down here. This was an early one. There's a lot of different colors within there. Gold, silver, purple. And hey, is the EU back to doing the candid shots? Or is it just because this one was old and they didn't list it? I guess we'll have to keep looking. But it's pretty cool. Next one, nowhere near as exciting. Ruby Rouge. A Ruby Les Paul custom with the dirty fingers in the bridge and all blacked out hardware. Headstock has a very similar theme. And the back is also completely matching in a new gloss finish, and you get the white moto back plates with original serial number. Nice. Those are locking grovers. And yes, indeed, we're back with all the additional photos. Maybe the guy who does these was just on vacation, and he heard we were missing them, so he returned as soon as he could. Then we have Turpin Green on a 70s style Flying V. The really yellowed over pickguard is what steals the show on this one. As far as the green itself, it's very dull, maybe a little bit of silver within it. But that yellowed pickguard with the black hardware, definitely interesting. They did the exact same thing to our truss rod cover. And this appears to be a satin finish matching on the back. But that Made in USA stamp seems oddly low. But now it's time for the Gibson Demo Shop. You will be shocked at how many guitars they've done. A full page this week. Now, there's some really good ones, but I can't cover them all. But I do believe last week's offerings start right here. So that's a good page and a half of new listings. Here's what stood out to me. There was a dark purple burst SG Modern. At first, you might be like, okay, whatever. But if I adjust the contrast, you're going to see this has a fantastic top with a little bit of a reverse chevron flame. That's one of the better ones that we've ever seen. They had an R9 in factory burst. And all things considered, I thought that was a pretty nice top. The standard 50s had a really tight pinstripey top, but it had the vertical wood grain and a little bit of flame in the back. The 61 SG Standard in classic white was another one of those oddly discolored nuts. I wonder what's causing that. And then you never see this, a 63 reissue Firebird 5. Custom shop Firebirds are expensive. They don't sell a lot of them, and usually if you want one, you have to custom order it. Not many dealers stock this model, so it was cool to see one here. Another nice translucent teal SG Standard that had the discolored nut. I just thought this 60 Standard was an oddly bright looking cherry guitar, especially compared to everything else that we've seen. Especially right here, you can see the red's very faded and washed out. That could also just be camera setting, but then we also have a Gibson CS356, model you don't see every day, 4100. But then I like this 58 reissue. It's got a lot of mineral streaks and plain grain with just a tad bit of flame on the edge. Now, this is one of those Murphy Lab guitars that appears to have been damaged even further. This is a very strange 57 reissue. Generally speaking, 57 reissues have the humbuckers. But as with any good changes, they never happen directly at the first of the year, so I'm sure there's some real 57s out there that do have P90s, so it kind of makes it unique. But what I liked is look how they aged the headstock. At first I thought that was gold paint hiding underneath that, but no, I think that's just the Hollywood veneer poking through. But I'm betting some of that flaking was not intentional. This 59 335, it's just a nice custom shop 335, but it looks like, somebody dinged it. Then we got a 59 reissue here. Say what you want about the gold top, but I know for sure that one was not intentional. This is what it looks like when the Murphy Lab finish starts to flake. It's an unpredictable finish. But this one, again, it's far from the worst that I've ever seen. So they probably took it back and just sold it on in the demo shop. I like how down here in the description, intentional aging versus flaking. Then the 61 335, I thought that was a very interesting burst pattern. It's kind of like the fades. You've got the strong border here, and then it just goes without it down here. The back is also completely matching. They called that one Vintage Burst VOS. Then looking at the sold listings, they had some old ones this week. So you guys remember the old Special Tribute series? If I remember correctly, they were like $1,000 brand new. Really cheap white satin finish to it. They had the maple necks with the mahogany bodies. But they came in a humbucker version, like we're seeing here. That was also available in natural. That'll help you see the maple neck. They also had the vintage ebony gloss, if you don't want to see the maple neck. And here was a cherry stain. That one's kind of cool. It's got a little bit of flame figuring within the body and the neck. But there were also P90 versions of those guitars. There was pretty much one of each. So that makes me think Gibson was clearing house at a place that happened to have these as demo models. And then here was our natural walnut stained one. But yeah, all those dating to 2019. Then my jaw dropped when I saw this, a left-handed government gray. I didn't even realize these were available in left-handed, but this is a Series 1 government SG, which I think they made these in, 2013? We can verify that by our serial number. It looks like we have one wonky tuner. Maybe that's why it was in their collection. But these were destined to be collector's items because they were made with the rosewood that the government confiscated from them. Series 1 is always the most popular, and I actually contemplated buying this, but then I looked at the case. Doesn't have the government green money case, and that probably means it doesn't come with the original Henry J signed COA. So as a long-term investment, probably not the best. However, it does have a really cool story of being part of the mod collection sold over a decade later, and $1,500, that's a no-brainer for a player. If it had everything, that's probably a $2,500 guitar, maybe even a little bit more. So it was certainly a good deal. But then we saw this Honey Amber 60 Standard. This must be a new dealer exclusive that I haven't run into, or maybe they were trying and they decided not to like it. I don't know. Suppose I could search Google for you guys. Oh, okay. Custom Color Series. I remember that. But this doesn't look like that. That's why I thought it was a new dealer exclusive. That came out really dark. It seems like Gibson is going to be discontinuing the Custom Color series, or at least some of the lesser popular ones. We've been seeing some good deals being thrown out at dealers like Guitar Center, etc. But there was also a seldom seen 64 reissue SG with the Maestro Vibrola, and we can wrap up things with a deeply beautiful deep purple 335. It sold quickly because it's got interesting plain grain underneath that finish. And it's not as dark as some of them have been, so you can actually appreciate the purple hue. The back matches that theme beautifully, but with a black neck. But alright, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed this week's recap. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.